Good day and welcome back to Mana Ministries, where we read the Bible, interpret the Bible. So, looking at the book of Daniel, the first thing we need to realize is it was God's plan for the Jewish people to be led away in captivity. They have sinned and they did certain things that he did not approve of, and he warned them that they would be led away in captivity, even in the days of Moses. He said they will lose out on the promised land if they continued in their old ways. And we can read all about that in the book of Jeremiah. But for now, we're going to focus on Daniel and just to have a bit of a understanding of what transpired in the days of Daniel. You know, we're just going to look at a bit of background. So, in those days, it was customary if a king um, overthrows another kingdom that he would actually take the cream of the crop, the top of the people, away in captivity. And some of them he would actually use for service in his kingdom or in his palace. And this was the case with Daniel and his three friends. Now, what this king would do often is he would take the rich people out of the country and he would put some of his own people in the country, or he would take some of the poor people of the country and give them the land. And then obviously they would have an opportunity to earn riches or to become rich or to make money. And you would sort of get their loyalty because of that. And then also the people that he took away in captivity, he treated well. You know, because you don't want somebody working in your palace for you. If you treat them badly, they would probably come and murder you. So these people were not treated badly as such. Although they were in captivity, they were seen as bond servants, but they were treated fairly well. And it's in this that Daniel had it in his heart not to defile himself with all the luxury and niceties of Babylon, meaning the food and the drink. So God honored that because God saw Daniel's heart and he knew that Daniel wanted to live a fasting lifestyle, and he honored that and he met him and he gave him wisdom and understanding and favor, not only with Daniel's supervisor but also with the king. And the word says in Daniel 1 that there was nobody else found like this Daniel and his friends, that in terms of wisdom and understanding. And to Daniel it was given to understand dreams and visions and all things spiritual, because Daniel had it in his mind to crucify the flesh, to have a fasting lifestyle, to afflict his soul so that he can be spiritual. And it rings true today. We also can live a fasting lifestyle. In fact, if we want to grow in the spirit, we need to fast. Not only in food, but in our soul, meaning soul affliction. We need to give up of our substance as an offer to God. I mean, in the old days, that was seen as a daily offering, uh, a daily offering, a free will offering. But we do the same today. We give up of our time, of our money, of our lives, of our very soul. We afflict that soul for the sake of God. And that makes us grow in spirit. So looking at Daniel, this is exactly what happened. Because he lived a fasting lifestyle, God granted him with spiritual things. Now, if you look at that wisdom that he had, and knowledge and understanding and counsel, these are all spirits of God. And Daniel had of the Spirit of God. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had a dream, and the dream bothered him something awful. And he wanted some closure and some clarity on the dream, and he asked all of these wise men to give him the interpretation of the dream. And he had a problem. They could lie to him, and he said, his fix would be, if you can tell me the dream, I know for sure that you can tell me the interpretation. So he withheld the dream from all of them and said, look, come to me with the dream, and then I know you can give me the interpretation. Obviously, none of them were able to do it except for Daniel. And Daniel comes to Nebuchadnezzar and he reveals the dream to him because God revealed it to Daniel, and also the interpretation. And this is the dream. Um, the word says, or it says in Daniel, that Nebuchadnezzar wondered about the future, especially the latter times. And God showed to him the things that would happen in future, and especially the latter times. So he had a dream of a statue. Now, if we study the book of Daniel and we study other prophets as well, and especially the book of Revelation, we will realize very quickly that that is spot on in terms of who rules the world. And it gives us a clear understanding of history in hindsight. Obviously, Daniel knew this before the time, and God even revealed this to Nebuchadnezzar. So he had a dream of a statue with the head of gold, the chest and arms of uh, silver, the belly and thigh of bronze, and then the legs of iron, and then the feet and toes of partly of iron and partly of clay. Now, what we need to realize, first of all, is that spoke of the fleshly kingdoms here on earth, but it has another meaning. This also represents the spiritual kingdom that was to rule over this dominion, meaning the principalities. Now, if we read on in Daniel, we will learn when the angels came to him, and some of the angels were hindered, and Gabriel was hindered by some of these principalities. So some of them are our enemies. Jesus came many years later to give us this kingdom, to rule and reign. But we need to take this kingdom in. We need to take it in faith. And there are enemies in our ways that we need to defeat. And this is the purpose of the book of Daniel, so we can see these enemies clearly. So, the first few chapters just gives us the background of the history of the world, and especially the history of the principalities and the kingdoms. Now, in our previous series concerning Genesis 1 to 11, we learned a few things. We learned that Satan, or Rahab, was the first principality. And at the Tower of Babel, God broke up that kingdom. God said, look, this is one kingdom that you have. I'm going to chop it in pieces. And Satan had no other choice but to form a nation and through military might rule again. And it took him about 400 years for Egypt to become the nation that ruled the world. So his kingdom was still there. It's just he had to rule it through military. He could not rule it in spirit because God chopped it up in pieces. But even in the fleshly kingdom of Egypt, God did not approve of his kingdom, and he broke Rahab, Satan, Egypt apart. And he in fact gave the rule to a new principality, a principality with the name of the Assyrian. And then that Assyrian ruled for many years. It was the ruler of the world through the Assyrian people. And while the Assyrian was in power, he raised up another city for people that were almost relatives of the Assyrian people, called the Babylonian people, the Chaldeans. And he raised up those people. And eventually the Chaldeans or the Babylonians came and they overthrew the Assyrian people in flesh. But the principality never changed. The principality was the same. It was still the same Assyrian principality. So we learned that Satan was the first principality at the Tower of Babel. The second in Egypt. The third was the Assyrian in the Assyrian Empire. The fourth was also the Assyrian in the Chaldean or Babylonian Empire. And then as we go on in the book of Daniel, we will learn of them that would follow and the history and the prophecy from God of what was to come. And why is this important? So that we can see and know these things, especially the end times, because it is all written in the book of Daniel. So next time we will look closely at what Nebuchadnezzar's response to the statue dream is, and especially how this principality, the Assyrian, influences him and his thinking in his response to this statue. Till next time. God bless.